In this edition of Assam TV, we meet Pete Teo, 15 Malaysia producer, and talk identity.
I think you have to be quite careful when you talk about the Malaysian identity. In that, you know, you have one form of identity as, say, put forward by Yasmin's films. It's multicultural, it's friendly, and the one that we love to see. But in reality, our communities are very fragmented, extremely so.
What's wrong with fragmentation? Isn't that good for filmmakers?
Malaysia is very complex. Malaysia has at least 3 communities. In fact, I would say 4. The English-speaking one, the Bangsa one, is different again. That's like from Mars. Not counting all the minorities, even smaller minorities, the ethnic minorities and so on. So we have a lot of people. And they all have their stories. They all have a different experience of Malaysia. And that's one of the reasons why I believe Malaysia is interesting, but it's also one of the reasons why we are weak. From a filmmaker's point of view, it also means that if you make a Malay film, you're really only tapping half the population. And that's like in Australia, English, you got 30 million as potential audience. In Malaysia, you get a fraction of that. As a Chinese filmmaker, smaller. As a Tamil filmmaker, where, it becomes very difficult.
Isn't identity an issue better left to governments?
Identity cannot be enforced from the top. And that's where I think government policy is wrong. You cannot enforce it from the top. I mean, especially as we have a separate educational system for each of our communities. Now, just because RTM makes once a year a video where everybody holds hands in their traditional costume, doesn't mean that that's actually the identity that's on the ground. That is actually just, to me, propaganda. Just because we keep saying to ourselves that Malaysia truly Asia, doesn't mean that we really are Malaysia truly Asia. So you got to differentiate the hype and the buzz and the PR from what's on the ground. And on the ground, if you go to Cheras, or if you go to Kampung Baru, or if you go to Terengganu, or Pasir Mas, it's a totally different Malaysia. So Malaysia has different identities, and I think that needs to be reflected in our art. I think the more we try and enforce a top-down view of what Malaysia is, the less we'll get it. I think the more we understand each other, so that we, for example, I'll give you an example of what should, for example, happen. Now, in film awards and music awards, for example, so in the realms of popular culture, the Malay films have their own award. They're televised separately. The Chinese music is their own award. It's separate. Now, why aren't we combining them? So that Awi's fan from Terengganu can see Guang Liang from Cheras. And vice versa. Now, it's good for the industry because obviously it doesn't mean that you listen to Awi, you won't appreciate Guang Liang. Yeah?
Art is art.
Art is art. Now, and it also obviously makes people understand each other better. I think we've been building walls for too long, actually.